Hello there, welcome back to another YouTube video with Ungainly Titan, and I want to talk a little bit about the beginning of Chapter 2 in the For Triumph campaign game. So I have been playing with the 0.140 or 0.14.0 beta branch that is currently available on Steam for people who have access to beta test, which is simple enough to get. We just kind of ask on their Steam forums. They'll direct you to the Discord and you kind of ask there, and the instructions are there. Anyone can do it if you have actually purchased the game. So the first thing you notice when you come down, if you don't go to the story missions straight away like I was very tempted to do, is where's my equipment? My equipment had disappeared. In fact, looking at it now, my hit points have also noticeably disappeared. So I decided that I'd opt to have a battle or two around the village, but I just wanted to show you, this is my equipment from earlier on, before the confrontation with Garbarik the Terrible. So it turns out, when you're down on the underground, you've lost access to your equipment that you had. Also to upgrades from buildings, upgrades from the guild. Now, this can be attributed, I suppose, and it can be explained in a story, and it makes sense to a certain extent. I'm not sure, except for the exception possibly of personal equipment. But I'd really have to have had a save at or during the battle with Garbarik the Terrible to check exactly what happened to my equipment or what exactly equipment I had. Because the thing is, these aren't necessarily the same characters that you had in the parties that you were wandering around on the surface with, because it takes the best characters, but it also takes characters of the appropriate types. So for instance, if I had no archer on the surface, or I know I had an archer in the picture that I showed you, but if I had no archer or ranger character, Bob Grimesbottoms would have been generated to replace my ranger in order to fit the storyline, because it's necessary for Bob to be present in the storyline in the village chapter. But you lack access to these various characters, and when you go in and fight now I'm going to skip the dialogues, the plot exposition and the pop philosophy discussion, because I don't A, want to spoil the fun for anybody else, and B, it's not kind of relevant to the comment that I'm making. I think the story, for what it's worth, is actually quite entertaining, and plot and exposition wise I actually think it's pretty decent. However, the lack of the upgrades, particularly the hit point and armor upgrades, you really notice, because the mission is actually difficult enough. You have two tough fights. You can see there's quite a few goblins. Now, the thing about the goblins here is that the initial one, you're aided by the fact that there's a couple of militiamen which buy you time to get into the action. Now, I'm not sure how useful tactics would have been in this particular instance, although I suppose it would allow me to deploy that a little bit further forward and maybe get my range characters into action more efficiently, particularly while the militiamen were still alive to attract most of the goblin attention. But what I found is that this fight is followed more or less immediately. It is a part of the same battle. There's a second part to this fight with almost as many goblins again. I think pretty much as many goblins again, and or near enough to it anyway. But the thing is, you're depleted. Your resources are considerably depleted in terms of hit points. At least if you've, unless you've been very, very careful, and that's where you get into trouble, because you can fight through the fight that you see, and then you realise you have another fight again and you have no replenishment of resources, and that one is almost impossible to complete unless you know it's coming. It's almost impossible to complete without casualties, in my opinion, unless you know it's coming. The other thing is that I would question about the current setup is that if you know that chapter 2 is going to start with you losing access to the resources that you've invested in on the surface, it might encourage you to actually accumulate cash and renown. Not to buy the guild upgrades, or at least not to buy as many of them. To accumulate the cash and renown so that it's sitting there, and the magic, so that they're basically sitting there in the bank. And then when you manage to gain access to a village, to instantly level to the power that you were at before you left the surface. Certainly if I was starting the whole thing again, I would be inclined to at least try it that way once, or the next time I play it, where I do not, knowing what's going to happen, I do not, should we say, spend resources on stuff that I'm going to lose. And I'm going to spend my resources on here when I get to the second chapter. Of course, there might be a reset. So I'm also then left wondering, would there be a reset for chapter 3? In which case, I might spend the end of chapter 2 before I face the final confrontation again, building up a reserve of resources to allow me to, should we say, start chapter 3 with, again, a bank of resources, reputation or renown, magic and money, in order to build up rapidly the assets needed to benefit the party, to make the party effective. So you can see here I am taking fair out attrition on the course of this battle. Now this battle is nearly ended, however, but that's only half the story. We've gotten quite a bit of experience out of it, alright, and of course your the higher level experience is unlocked, so you can now level up as high as you can, which is good because the level up basis alone is actually makes characters fairly powerful. So the experience accumulation is pretty good. So now I have what's this? We've our Savage on 5 hit points. Okay, Bob is doing all right. He has 11, but the Leandra is in serious trouble with down to 5 hit points. We probably have the fight under control. Well, there's one goblin that we're not in a position to attack. And, well, unless Leandra's able to put something on him. Okay, he's a melee unit. Yeah, probably go for somebody else. There's the other people. Melee unit will take him a while to reach someone. Anyway, he bleeds to death because somebody attacked him that had a bleeding option. This guy comes out, okay, and he gets Leandra. Even though she was not necessarily the closest target. She was, I suppose, the target closest to dying. He won't reach with a melee attack, so he won't regenerate any hit points back. And okay, we give the extra points to Bob, because Bob will what's the word? We'll be able to make multiple attacks, hopefully, and maybe, or maybe, what you call it, lifts or something along those lines, to complete the situation. We've stunned the shaman, so the shaman is effectively out of the fight, and we can stun this guy. And the attack of opportunity is going to go 1 hit point left. Don't know why I used that one. I used it on. Get rid of the shaman. They're both stunned. Doesn't matter. Only one of them can make an attack, or not one of them. One of them. Neither of them can make an attack. Levels up my my wizard and my savage. Our Leandra's down to 2 hit points. And the thing is, if she's close enough to shoot at people, she's close enough to be shot back at by people. And this turns out to be only half the story, so we have a bit of more exposition and discussion and backstory and what have you. And then we've got to go and fight the rest of the goblins, and they are outside the village at the other end, so we have to leave through a narrow gap as well, so we have an exit. Which is always a tricky deployment, because, okay, the exit itself isn't defended. But it is there, and it means that you have to get out through a narrow space where you won't have cover for all the people. Or if you do leave people in cover, you're going to open a tactical space between the tougher, tankier melee units and the squishier casting units or ranged units. So I'm taking it cautiously. I'm making maximum use of bracing, and out we come the other side, and there is the exit, and now we've triggered the goblins, or at least some of the goblins. So we have 6 of them at least, and a good mixture between, well, it's about 50-50 I think, between ranged and melee. And we're going to be facing into a kind of a wall of okay, that guy's not going to be doing anything useful, but there's going to be quite a few of them, probably in Overwatch, because they're too far away to actually do anything more useful. Now, I personally think that if the first half of this fight dropped a good few healing potions, enough that it was worth your while to walk around, maybe a healing potion for every member of the party or something like that, and it was worth your while to walk around and pick them up afterwards, rather than pushing on with the fight. Or it gave access to the character sheet, to the inventory reserve, so that you could do something like push a button and pull everything into the inventory reserve and then redistribute it among the party members. Now, I do know that I suspect, well, I don't know for definite, I haven't actually discussed it with them, but I suspect that one of the reasons they don't generally allow access to the party sheet to the inventory during a fight is they don't want to pull off shenanigans where, if you had 2 parties and say one of the parties is got well equipped, so everybody's got a weapon enhancer, so some kind of an attack bonus item and some kind of an armor item, and you have a secondary party that doesn't have any gear, and the secondary party gets into a tough fight, you look at the fight at the start and you go, ooh, this is a very tough fight. You pull out the party sheet, you maybe get access to the other party or something like that, or you move all the other guys' inventory into stock or whatever after each fight, so that you can equip the other party with it at the start of a fight if you need to. That kind of shenanigans, maybe that's part of the reason, but because it is a kind of a shared resource at the moment, it's not something that each individual party has. Everything is strictly on one party's sheet, so anything that's accumulated in loot, for instance, is universally available. So I look forward to actually playing out the rest of the chapter, and it'll probably be, I don't know, a week, next week, maybe at the end of the week, because I'm going to quit early before Christmas, and I'm going to take time off at Christmas. However, one of the things I said, a couple of things strike me. Knowing what I know now, if I was starting the campaign, now I might change my mind when I finish the campaign, but one obvious counter to this is that you don't spend resources in the first year. You don't spend as much resources. You maybe spend resources early, because it does make the other fights kind of easier, but you spend resources early to get the in chapter 1. And then towards the end you accumulate resources so that you come into the thing with a good bank of renown and magic and cash. So that when you do take the town, here at the first chapter, you just take the town and then you spend it straight away and you just immediately upgrade the town to a fairly high level of upgrades. Well, I mean, there's a limit to how fast you can do it, but if you have the resources, you can do it within a week. You could have a lot of upgrades if you could build every day. The other option would be to, and it's not mutually exclusive, you could spend a couple of days going around gathering resources before you go into the town. So you'd be getting, not only equipping your party, but you'd be gaining equipment for the party, and you'd also be gaining experience for the party, and you'd also be gaining resources again that would again allow you rapidly build up the town, because the fight itself, you have essentially the renown from the Garbarg the Terrible fight, the renown from the fight in the village, all add up. So you actually finish up this fight with quite a lot of renown, and you can buy through the guild stuff fairly quickly, or you can buy at least more than one upgrade as far as I remember. And if you did more battling around the area, and it turns out in this particular map that there was another town available not too far away, which was probably much easier to take than the story town, and you could have built up all the guild stuff on that and then gone back in and attacked the story town, which in hindsight I probably should have done. However, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to complete the chapter, and then I'll probably have a more balanced view of the chapter, and the odds are that it probably will be out in the regular branch. If it's not already out in the regular branch, I haven't checked, at least, but I haven't seen anything that indicated that it was being released either, but it might be out before Christmas. And therefore that would be I know that we're hoping to do it. That would be nice, and we'll certainly I'll have more to say about it, but the game is shaping up really nicely. There's a lot of nice things about it, and I'm certainly looking forward to its development, its continued and further development. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please press like, comment, share. It really helps the channel out, and if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.